Hey guys, this is Jessica Prater from J. Prater Consulting. I'm excited to bring you this Motivation Monday coffee chat with Danie Muniz. Danie is a certified hypnotherapist, a results mentor, and someone who is truly focused on converting thinking into results. For the past decade, she has worked with individuals, helping them to boost productivity, performance, and self-love by shifting old paradigms and forming success habits that will last a lifetime. She's also a master NLP practitioner, master executive coach, master life coach, and certified in timeline dynamics therapy. She loves to hang out in nature with her love and her pug, listen to live reggae music, and drink coffee with tea for breakfast. We uncovered that interesting habit in our conversation. Today, we're going to talk about the idea of macro motivation, so some kind of event that happens that really brings us motivation. We're also going to talk about micro motivation, what gets us out of bed every day, and we're going to talk about the difference. I hope you enjoy this conversation between me and Danie Muniz. Thank you for joining me today for our Motivation Monday coffee series. And everybody that knows me knows this is my favorite question in the world. So if I were meeting you at your local coffee shop, what would you be ordering for yourself this morning?
So that's a great question because it depends on the day, but I'm going to say this. It's got to be something with coffee and tea in it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's like, it could be like a chai latte with like an espresso shot. It could be like a raspberry tea inside my coffee. Yeah, I know.
I've never, so I've drank a lot of coffee drinks in my life. I'm normally thoroughly caffeinated. I've never heard of doing that before.
You've
So
got to try it.
I will have to try it the next time I go to my local coffee shop. I'll definitely have to get a chai with a shot of espresso in it. That sounds really
So
good.
good. They
All
call
right.
it a dirty chai, just FYI.
Dirty chai. Okay. Good to know. All right. Excellent. Well, thanks for sharing that little piece of advice, and I've learned something today. But thanks for sharing that piece of advice, and let's go ahead and get to the question of our focus for the day. When I ask you the question, what motivates you in your business, what comes up?
Oh, so that was a great question. Let's see. There's a couple of things that I think right off the bat. I know people will say this, probably the very first thing is like your clients, right? Like the impact that you make on your clients. And that is probably like the number one thing that I think motivates me. But there's also some other things I think that motivate me probably more. And I think more so that motivates me the most is that thing that it's like this away from, it's like this pain point that I have where I saw something in my life around, not only in my own personal life, but in people around me, in what they were going through or the things they didn't achieve or the things that they didn't do. And I think being able to help them, especially like people close to you, like my mother, not being able to pursue the things that she wanted to. And so being able to help people do that, I think that is probably bigger of a motivator than the impact it has on the other side. Does that like make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So let me rephrase that in a way that I'm synthesizing it. So what you're saying is it's motivating to see maybe where people have gaps, or maybe I won't say necessarily failures, but where people haven't necessarily lived up to potential, and how you might come in and help that piece of the puzzle. Is that accurate?
That is absolutely accurate. Yeah. Yeah. I get like, I don't know. I felt like for a long time, I did not live my own life. And that was something that when I woke up to, like, whoa, there's this whole other world out there, that it was like, okay, like then I started seeing all the other people and I'm like, man, like it doesn't have to be that way. It can be so much better. And so that I think is more of a motivator for me than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what I'm hearing from you, Danie, so what you're talking about is that opportunity of closing that gap. And it sounds like in your experience that something lit a fire for you in that motivation. So for you, what was that spark or that event that really helped you realize that there were some gaps there to close?
Wow. So that's a great one. So it comes back to, I was in a relationship for 10 years and we bought a house and we were engaged and we were about to get married. And it literally was 2 weeks before we were about to walk down the aisle and we got in a really big fight. And it wasn't the first fight. It was one of many fights. And a friend of mine happened to be there and she happened to witness it. And when we kind of, ended the fight, she told me, like, does he do that often? And I'm like, wow, I didn't realize at that point that relationships weren't supposed to be like that. And that was the eye opener for me to say, wow, what am I missing? What have I been, hidden to for all this time? And it was probably the hardest thing that I had to do. I mean, you're married, right? And I'm sure, other people out there, everything's so tied together when you're married, or when you're about to get married, everything's like, we had a house. And so financially it was like, do I do this? Right. But in my heart, I knew something was wrong. I knew something was right. And by her saying just those tiny words to me, right, it just changed everything for me. And I had to restart over. I had to start completely from, ground zero, lost a lot of money, right? I mean, you know how much it is to plan a wedding.
Yeah.
All the deposits, all the money was paid out. Didn't really get much of that back. But it was so worth it. It was the thing that spun my life into a completely different direction. And I'm so glad that I experienced it, that I went through it, and that I'm on the other side of it now, and I can help people, right, if they're in that situation, or if they're feeling the same way that I was. So yeah, that's it for me.
That's an amazing story, and how you turned it around, and how there were some financial consequences. And I love that you said that it was 100% worth it, because there's so many times that we have those sparks that we realize that there's a big gap there and something's got to get us out of that pit. So we talked about that big piece of motivation, that spark, that making us move. And here's another question I want to pose to you. So big motivation, micro motivation. What gets you out of bed in the morning? What gets you going every day? What things motivate you on a micro level?
Yeah. Okay. So the one thing, so every morning I do this visualization, and it's just my future, right? It's where I'm going. It's what I'm doing. And the thing that I see, and this is the biggest thing for me, is literally drinking my coffee and tea outside on a patio overlooking a beach. Like, honestly, that's like, I mean, yeah, all the other stuff is fantastic, but literally that's what gets me out of the bed in the morning. Literally looking at, like, wow, like, I'm working towards this huge idea, this huge goal. But along the way, I get to enjoy these little moments with the pug, with my love on our porch, like hearing the waves crash in this nice, peaceful place, like drinking my coffee and tea. Like, literally, that's what I think about every single morning, especially on those days when I do not want to get up, when I'm either not feeling well, or it's just like one of those days, where you just don't want to get out of bed. You just feel like staying in, right? And I have to remember, like, I have a bunch of pictures in our room, and one of them is of, like, it's the Bahamas, actually. It's a picture of the Bahamas. And so I look at that and it's like, okay, that's what I want, right? I don't have that now. That's what I want. So what do I got to do to get there? What do I got to do to get there?
Yeah, and I love that piece because, if you were to even ask me, Jessica, what's your motivation? Autonomy, giving a good example for my son, all of those things are things that come up for me. But I think it's important that we talk about those micro motivations because, me being an example for my son, he's 2, he's on the floor screaming half the time, because we have that independence battle right now. And so it's a challenge for me to think about daily, how do I motivate? So I love that idea of visualization. I love that idea that you have a physical representation of a picture of a beach in your bedroom so that you have that there in front of you at all times. Absolutely love that piece of advice.
Oh yeah, people talk about vision boards. Like, we talk about a vision house, like all over our house. Like, I mean, you could probably see some of the stuff back here behind my desk. Like, I just have words of affirmations, like images of things, places we want to go, or people we admire. It's like literally all over our house. And it's like, we see these things all the time, and it just like motivates us to do the things that we want to do and to get where we want to go. And we have just this like focus. So yeah, we call it a vision house.
I love that concept. It needs to be branded Vision House. I feel like there's something coming up for you there. Absolutely. Well, Danie, I've loved our conversation. I feel like I've gotten so many golden nuggets from you. If anybody watching this video wants to reach out to you or find you, where's the best place they can do that?
The best place to find me actually is on my website. It's www.thepeaceteacher.com. But if you're on social, you can come find me on Instagram and Facebook over there, Danie Muniz. Yeah, but thank you so much, Jessica. I really, really have loved our conversation, and I love this series that you're doing. And so kudos to you. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful week.